Hello and welcome to today's video as we cover Worlds 2025 mid laners. Not quite as inspiring as Jungle in my opinion. I feel like the mid lane meta has not been as carry oriented as we've seen in the years past. But first we're going to go over the champion pools. We're going to discuss what the most commonly played champs are. We're going to discuss some unique picks, then look at stats and rank the players lastly. So first, on the left, we have the most played champions by these players. Top three most played, tiebreaker being win rate. And it's not as extensive. This board is not as extensive as the last 2 days. The expression in different champions, I guess there's not as many unique picks. And pretty much everybody's playing the same shit. I mean, there are some players that played 25 champions. We see Chovy and Cap's name for two examples over here quite a bit, but a lot of players played 15 to 20 champs. So, for most played, we have Ari being played by Chovy, BDD, Knight, and Dyer. Quite a lot. However, Poby did not play Ari at all during summer with Fnatic. Akali, one of the most played by Myru of Vivo Keyed Stars. So maybe that'll be a pick we see. Annie, Shanks, Rookie, Caps. Some of their most played, but Quid and JoJo didn't play it at all during the season. Aurora, it is a top lane flex. Remember that. Myru, Cream, Quid, Maple, Knight, Quad, no Aurora played. Azir, a very common pick, right? This is no shock. Azir is pretty much meta 90% of the time. It has been nerfed going into Worlds. We'll see if that means that these players are going to have to make a change. Hankyu, Zeka, Myru, Jojo Pune, Cream, Shanks, Quad, Poby, and Chovy. All playing quite a bit of Azir. Silas was played by everybody but Poby and Maple. Keep in mind, those are the two players that only played in summer. Galio, played by Shanks, Chovy, Poby, and Dyer. Maple did not play any Galio. Orianna, another control mage like Azir, played by Poby, Faker, Rookie, Caps, and Dyer. Rise, obviously a very unique pick. Well, not, I guess, very unique, but a dynamic pick because it can teleport around the rift. Cream, Faker, Maple, and BDD, all playing a lot of Rise. Talia, very common pick. Like Rise, can get around the rift with its ulti. Hankyu, Zeka, Jojo, Quad, Rookie, Maple, BDD, Knight, and Caps. Victor, third control mage. Hankyu, Quad, Faker, Quid. Yone, common pick by Zeka, Jojo, Quid. Dyer did not play any Yone at all. Unique picks. So yesterday somebody didn't listen, but it's only if two or less players at this tournament played the champion in the role. So if three did, you notice there's nobody with three on here. So Nivea mid was played by Caps. Camille played by Hankyu. I do not like melee mids. It's not my cup of tea, and that's the first real time I've seen a Camille mid since, well, I mean, Hankyu's Camille mid might be the only one I've ever seen. Gragas played by Caps. Lee Sin played by Quid. Lucian played by Quad and Knight. That's an 80 carry flex. Lulu, a support flex, played by Rookie. Malzahar, a BDD pick. Nico, played by Caps. Renekton, played by Zeka Chovy. Set, played by Chovy. Vigar, played by Shanks and Knight. I believe Vigar was buffed going into Worlds. Vex, played by Chovy. Viego, played by Chovy and Quid. Zeka, played Zed, as did Knight. Zeri, Rookie and BDD played that, and Zillion was played by Quad. So, a dozen or so unique champions that not many people played. You know, this, I said this last few times, but in case it's the first time you're watching it, you know, this is something to think about in a fearless setting in a Game 4 or Game 5 scenario. The thought of resetting going into Game 5 is a joke to me. So, the way I look at it is these are the type of picks you might see in a Game 5 where it's like, hey, I've tried this and it worked. There is a possibility, and I would almost guarantee it, that there are some picks on this board, if we really think about it, that should not see the light of day again. Maybe by that player or in general. So, that's something to think about. But at the same time, they have been willing to pull it out before. Nobody else at this event really has pulled it out in the role. So it is a unique pick to them going into Worlds, and we'll see if others do something similar. Like I said, a lot of melee picks here. I'm not a fan of those in the mid lane, so that's a thing. It's a ballsy thing. Like, I really do like players that play weird shit in different roles because I think that gives you some pizzazz, and it takes the enemy team off guard. All of a sudden, they're like, oh shit, that's how this draft is. Okay, well, I wasn't ready for that, and maybe the composition doesn't match exactly what they expected. So that's it for the champ pools. Now on to the stats. Okay, so for the stats, we have the stats. But also in pink are the Discord rankings. So those are what the Discord had as of right now in the tier lists channel. Those threads aren't closed, but I won't be obviously including it in a video from here on out. So, another thing, LPL and LCK stats are not equal to LTA, LEC, and LCP, obviously. However, in this format, I have considered them equal in a vacuum. So take that for what you will. KDA, who's not dying? Well, Chovy, 5.5, and Poby, 5.7, staying alive. A couple +5s, Knight and Shanks, but they're tied. Lower end, Maple, 3.5, Myru, 3.3, and Jojo, 3.2, so dying a little bit. Are those guys, most people high 3s to high 4s. Kill participation, not all that different. Only about 12% difference or so between the highest and lowest players on the board. Lower end, Faker, only 62% of his team's kills had his fingerprints on him. So only 3 out of every 5 or so. There are a lot of solo kills out of Doran this year. Owner's doing work, the bot lane duo's doing work, and that's going to happen. Maybe not as involved. 63% for Caps, similar scenario. Quid, 74%. 100 Thieves play through Quid, 3 out of every 4 kills. Clear as day. Another high kill participation, Shank, 71%. BDD, 71%. Both just as involved in their team's kills this season. Farm, CS per minute. This is when you know that the role is not quite the same as it's been in the last couple of years, because Chovy leads the role with a 9.3, where last year he may have had a 10.1 or so, which is significant because the lowest one on the board is like an 8.2. So, nearly the drop-off from last year to this year is almost as much as the drop-off from the highest to lowest player at this event. Highest resource to lowest resource allotment in Farm. Other 9+ players, Jojo and Poby. Poby 9.7 actually. The glare was on there. I forgot. Poby 9.7 with Fnatic. His stat line is kind of skewed because of this. He's getting so much farm, it kills his ROI. His ROI is 1.44, and his share differential is 1.6 because he's getting so much gold and then not doing enough with it because of the way the meta is right now. You could argue maybe that means they should be putting the gold elsewhere, but that's a conversation for the Fnatic video, if I even mentioned it in that one, which I feel like I probably did. Jojo with 9. Lower end, Cream and Rookie, 8.3 and 8.2. Lower resources there. That results in Cream having a 1.84 ROI. Low farm, same amount of damage as everybody else, with less gold. That's pretty effective, right? If you can deal just as much damage with less gold, that frees up somebody else on your team maybe to play a little more tanky. 1.79 for Myru, 1.76 for Maple. Share differential. Oh, and the 3 LEC mids, all the lowest, which makes you want to think that's the way the LEC played. The mid lane meta was a little different there. The tempo and pace of play a little different than everywhere else in the world, but that is something to think about. Share differential, higher end, Chovy, 4.6. Kind of just further solidifies that Chovy is the best player in the world because even on Gen G, he's dealing some of the highest share differential in his role in the current meta. Myru, 5.2. Hongq, 5.4. Hongq is a very fun player at this event. A young player, I think maybe the youngest here. And he's going to really, hopefully the next step's being taken from last international, and he can really show up in a big way. Lower end, Poby, 1.6. Caps, 2.3. You'd like Caps to deal more damage as well, given his dominance in the laning phase. Shanks, 2.6, because Tarzan's dealing so much damage. That's going to play a role. You see the ROIs. I mean, the majority are in the 1.6s to 1.7s or so. Vision efficiency. Knight, 3.86. Caps, 3.43. Myru, 3.39. These are the players that are taking their leads and setting up for objectives at a high level using ward placement. Much better than other players on this board. Invading, etc. Lower end, you look at JoJo, Poby, and Quad. They're not as efficient. Their ward placement's not as useful, and therefore it's a little less gold value on the ward, that you buy the ward. So, well, I guess Trinket you don't buy, but Pink you do. Gold difference. So, let's further talk about Chovy some more, right? Because why not? Roughly 300 gold ahead and 332 XP. That leads the roll. So he's playing at the highest level of play, and he has the best laning stats. That is Chovy. Knight, 240 gold ahead. Not a big surprise. Caps, 225 gold, 250 XP ahead. Dominated the LEC once more in the 1v1 laning phase. Of course, junglers do affect this. But in a vacuum, numbers are great. Lower end, who is losing lane? Maple and Faker. And Rookie. What do all three of those players have in common? They aren't dirty. Let's just put it that way. They're not dirty. And it is what it is. We have a lot of older players in the mid lane role at this event. And with the meta, that's fine because the expectations aren't quite to be as carry-oriented, in my opinion. Solo kills per game. Who are the most aggressive players? Well, Caps is getting almost a solo kill every 3 games in the LEC. Hongq, 2 out of every 5 games. So Hongq, very aggressive, joining Caps. 2 players that aren't as opportunistic, Faker and Maple. Maple only 1 in 10. Faker about just over maybe 1 in 8 to 1 in 7 games is he getting a solo kill. Like I said, just not as opportunistic, maybe not playing as aggressive in lane, and that's evident in the laning stats there behind at 15 minutes. I would say it's more concerning for Maple than Faker. Maple in the beginning of the split, after coming out of retirement, a very short-lived retirement, struggled mightily. He got better throughout the season and in summer, and I don't know, during playoffs he played better, League of Legends, I guess. Faker, on the other hand, his laning has not been what it used to be. And I feel like anybody really that's being fair about it would agree. He did show up at Worlds and last year, and you can't take that away from him. Let's just look at a matter of fact of this season. He is behind in lane. But against other players of this event, I don't expect him to replicate those numbers and do poorly. Champions played. LCK and LPL teams are playing a shit ton of games. Anyone's Legend played like 170 games. Vivo Keatstar 62. So, after you play 20 champions, you really don't have many more options. Yeah, you may be able to get to 25 champions or so, 5 more over the next 80 games played. So that's a thing we got to think about. But, Faker, Shanks, Cream, lowest champion pool usage. Obviously, Faker's played more champions than anybody else in history, but that doesn't mean that he's going to play them all at Worlds. And then the higher end, Poby played like 13 champions in 25 games, 14 champions, 25 games. That's going to happen because he didn't play many games, and Maple's a similar boat. He played a different champion every 3 games, while a new champion every 3 games, and that's going to happen. That's going to happen when he only plays 1 split. So that is a thing. But yeah, this mid lane group is not as inspiring as the jungle group, but whatever. First, we're going to start with Maple. I'm putting 17th. Maple, I think, is a bit donezo here. I mean, he's at the event, and that is what it is. I'm going to go Dyer 16th and Myru 15th. I've seen Myru at internationals before. He wasn't all that inspiring, to put it mildly. But Dyer I haven't seen here. And Dyer at the LCP level, very low resource. losing lane slightly. I mean, you want to be dominant at a lower level of play, in my opinion. I mean, it's pretty typical of Vietnamese mids to not be very dominant um, outright, really, in the laning phase or in general. Um, like, really, Vietnamese mids usually have weird stat lines, and that's kind of the case with Dyer, so that is what it is. After that, though, is where things get a bit interesting. Um, so, theoretically, here, I feel like I have to go Poby 14th, which is a bit of a hot take. People are all over Poby saying, oh, he's saving Ellie, he saved Fnatic, this and that, and some of these stats are good, the 9.7 CS per minute. But what he did with it is problematic. I think of Poby's stats in challengers this season, they weren't crazy good, not quite like Quid was a couple of years back with Gen G Academy and then joining 100 Thieves. Quad getting opportunities in the LCK and then joining and obviously playing in North American Challengers, but then playing with FlyQuest. Poby, we'll see how he does at this international event when he plays tier 1 players at a high level of play and he's not playing LEC mids. And then putting up stat line that honestly isn't all that inspiring, and we saw him play, and I don't know, I that's how I kind of feel about Poby right now. So that is a thing. Well, shucks. Probably going to go Quad 13th, JoJo 12th, Quid 11th. Why am I going Quad, JoJo, Quid? I think Quid offers that 1v9 threat, really, and we see it time and time again. We see it in the stat line being a very high and important player in the kill participation category. He is what makes 100 Thieves go. And he's doing well in lane. He gets solo kills. He does what he has to do. JoJo, solid player. Quad, I think, just kind of goes for the ride with FlyQuest. I mean, I understand he plays his role, but I think with Whippo playing carry-oriented champs in mid, Inspired being so flexible in what he brings to the table, I think Quad is the worst player on FlyQuest, which is not saying a lot because FlyQuest are obviously very good, but Quad just doesn't quite do it for me, I guess. Now this is where things are gonna get tough because I really think, I want Rookie to be better than 10th. I'm going 10th because Rookie this season is not really, it just seems like Rookie is not I mean, it's not fair to him to even say this. He's older now. He hasn't been to an international event in a long time. And it just is what it is. It is what it is. That's a career of a player that, I mean, we're getting an opportunity. Maybe this is his swan song, his last run. And I mean, he's had a great career. A great career. With IG, obviously, he's playing into T1 on Wednesday, and it's a damn shame that we might only get one series of Rookie on an international stage, and that'll be it. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to retire, but it would be a shame. So that is a thing to contemplate. Now, the next two, I'll be honest, are Caps and Hongq, and figuring out which order I want to do it. Caps, dominant during the laning phase. We see those numbers here. However, what he ended up doing for G2, he wasn't all that involved. G2 are a very good team. They're fighting around the rift and making things happen. Damage divided by gold, not all there because he's not really fighting all that much. LCP, gonna fight more. CFO, dominant team in the LCP. You could argue the most dominant team of the three minor regions. So that is a thing. Hongq, a lot younger. But I'm gonna go Caps 9th and Hongq 8th. Which kind of goes with what the Discord thought and maybe what the community sentiment is. I'm sure LEC fans won't agree, but I think Hongq is a very fun player, a very aggressive player. But Caps is as well. You see the solo kills, you see the laning stats. They're very good, and he's got some crazy-ass champions he plays. So, that is what it is. But that's how we have it, so that's how we're going to do it. Faker is 7th, which, I mean, Faker is not what he once was, but he's still one of the better mids at this event. And what he brings to the table is not shown in stats, and I do not consider intangibles quite like that on this board, because intangibles are quantified by someone's opinion and not really by any data. Now, after this is where it gets tough. I'm still not a massive BDD guy. I'm really not. I think BDD is solid, good. He's like LCK Xiaohu, except he doesn't get international victories because Faker went to Worlds every time, and KT obviously didn't, and BDD kicked around with Gen G, etc. But with Orgs, they just kind of don't get the job done, historically. So that's unfortunate for him. I get a lot of people really have a thing for him right now, but I'm going to go Cream 6th and... Cream 6. Cream very aggressive, but this ROI number is partially representative of the low CS per minute number. We don't love that. And I really haven't liked what Cream has brought to the table internationally relative to my expectations. Honestly, these two LCK mids, I can't believe... I'm surprised, really, when I go over these stats and I see their laning numbers not be all that great. And yeah, you could say, well, the LCK have great mids. We see Karas lose his fucking job and go to the LPL and go middle of the table. And be like, oh, well, the LPL has 17 teams. That's going to happen. No, the point is the guy literally lost his job and went to middle of the table. It's not like he went from bottom LCK. No, he was literally no longer a tier 1 player. I don't get why we can't characterize it authentically. Shanks and BDD are very similar players. You look at these stat lines, the farm's a little different, BDD a little ahead. That results in a better ROI for Shanks. Share differential, 0.8% different, but Shanks has a better vision efficiency, has a higher laning, gold difference. What I see out of Shanks is we're going BDD 5th and Shanks 4th. Zeka 3rd. Chovy's, almost said Chovy 2nd. Chovy's 1st, Knights 2nd. So it kind of all falls. It's almost like I had that already planned out, right? That I was going to go Chovy, Knight, Zeka. And really, I would say I didn't have Zeka 3rd until just now. I feel like you could make a case between, what do I have here? Cream 6th and Zeka 3rd. Those 4 players in Zeka, Shanks, BDD, Cream. Probably put them on any order and whatever you see as a preference. I understand BDD had a good playoffs and they upset Gen G, but that's 5 games out of 115 or so, and they actually had a losing win rate this season, KT. And I don't use win rate as a stat when I look at players. I'm just saying with context, just to give you a representative of just BDD did not do well from day 1 till now. And I'm trying to take into account the entirety of the season, not how they're coming in at the moment. So, Chovy is by far the best player. Knight is by far the 2nd best player. And then it's just, okay, now we have the drop-off. Which with jungle, that wasn't really the case, right? Yesterday, it was like, well, we got 5 really good fucking junglers here. And then everybody here, I think, is a very good jungler domestically at minimum. And it was kind of tough to go through that. But here it wasn't as difficult. The middle, you got a lot of older players that are just not really doing it for me right now. But yeah, so that's it for the video. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, like it. Subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter. Join the Discord. Become a YouTube supporter. And hope to see you again tomorrow.